What's up, peeps? It's me. I'm back, and I'm gonna try not to keep you too long tonight. But I want to bring you is not breaking news, but it is something that happened very, very recently. It just happened yesterday, and we need to talk about it a little bit. But first, I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's being smart. I hope everybody is ready, or at least getting ready. Because if we think the heat has been turned up, well, it's about to be turned up some more. And there's a lot going on, so everybody should be doing their own research. Everybody should be gathering their own information. Everybody should be listening to people that are trying to present you with accurate, true information. And you need to be having conversations. You need to be talking about this stuff. And we need to be on the ready. Especially us foundational Black Americans. We need to be on the ready. We need to understand that nobody's going to swoop in at the 11th and a half hour and save us and rescue us for none of this. We got to do the work ourselves. But anyway, because I don't want to keep you too long, and because there are other things that we need to talk about in a later broadcast, let's get down to what's going on. Now, I got this first article out of refinery29.com. And just based on some of the ads on this site, I think this may be a Black-owned publication, or a predominantly Black-owned publication, or cater to Black women, or whatever. But I have read, in the past, I have read one or two other articles from them, and that's just the feel that I get based on, like I said, some of the articles, based on how they word their articles, and based on some of the ads that I've seen. But again, it's refinery29.com. And this, of course, is about the killing of Dijon Kizzy. That's the 29-year-old Black man that was on the bicycle in Los Angeles that they were reporting was shot in the back, maybe anywhere from 15 to 20 times. So that's what this is about. It's by Ellie Bell, and it was last updated September 1st, 2020 at 4:50 p.m. Los Angeles police shoot a Black man over 20 times for an alleged bicycle violation. Okay? Now, let's get to this. I just needed to maximize it a little bit. On Monday afternoon, police shot and killed a Black man in South Los Angeles for allegedly violating a bicycle vehicle code. According to a press conference held by Lieutenant Brandon Dean, he was fatally shot by officers over 20 times after running from them. Family members at the scene have identified him as 29-year-old Dijon Kizzy. His identity was later confirmed by a Los Angeles County examiner coroner. Around 3 p.m., and this was on Monday, yesterday, around 3 p.m., officers reported that they saw a man riding a bicycle and made a U-turn to stop him for violating a vehicle code. Though it is still unclear what vehicle code he was allegedly breaking. After police approached him, Kizzy got off his bike and began to run. Officers then began chasing him. So they pursued this man on this bicycle for allegedly breaking some bicycle vehicle code. Okay? To get away, Kizzy allegedly punched one of the officers in the face and dropped a bundle of clothing he was carrying. The deputies noticed that inside the clothing items that he dropped was a black semi-automatic handgun. Here we go with the gun again. It's always got to be something. With Jacob Blake, they talking about they thought that there was a knife, or something about there was a knife under the driver's side seat of his vehicle. But again, if it was there, he wasn't holding it. So he was yet unarmed when they shot him 7 times in the back. Okay, just like with this gentleman here, if there was, and this is still alleged, if there was a handgun, he had dropped it in the clothing. He wasn't holding it when they shot it. Okay, at that point, said the lieutenant at a press conference, at that point, 2 officers opened fire and shot Kizzy several times. and he was pronounced dead at the scene. The department has stated it will be speaking with witnesses and working to find any surveillance cameras that may have captured it on video. A video taken by a bystander partly shows the incident. It begins with the man running and carrying clothing while a woman can be heard yelling, "Don't shoot him." So in order for her to be yelling, "Don't shoot him," and the guy's running, then that means she sees the police, even before the camera sees it, she sees the police officers either with their weapons drawn or she saw them when they actually drew their weapons. Two cops are then seen pointing their guns at Kizzy, who has collapsed on the ground. The video shows him motionless and lying face down, where eyewitnesses report he was left by county officers. Police killed Kizzy the day before the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors was scheduled to vote on purchasing body cameras for officers, who are currently not required to wear them on duty. And for all of you who are talking about voting for Biden and Harris, I do believe, and I'll go back and verify this, and if I'm wrong, would somebody please in the comments let me know. But I do believe that this has been an ongoing issue as far as Los Angeles and as far as law enforcement in Los Angeles with this whole body camera thing. And that Kamala Harris was against, when she was either DA or when she was the state attorney general, she was against police officers being required to wear body cameras. The same Kamala Harris that y'all talking about voting for, she was against police officers being required to wear body cameras. It also comes 2 weeks after the fatal shooting of a black man in nearby Pasadena, Anthony McLean, who was killed by cops during a traffic stop. So I mean, if you look at the pattern and if you look at the history, none of these black people, none of these unarmed black people, since Trayvon Martin, none of them have actually been shot and killed in the commission of a crime, like robbing a bank, breaking and entering, you know, some gangster shootout shit. None of them have actually been murdered, shot down in cold blood and murdered in the commission of an actual crime. Traffic stops. Teenage boys walking through a neighborhood at night carrying Skittles and tea. Mike Brown just walking down the street. I don't care what they said he had just done. He wasn't doing that when he was murdered. George Floyd, I don't care if he had passed off a counterfeit $20 bill. He was not passing off a counterfeit $20 bill when he was murdered. Tamir Rice, in the park like children play in the park with play guns. He was a child in the park playing with a play gun. Sandra Bland, traffic stop. Philando Castile, traffic stop. I think it was Alton Sterling, traffic stop. So none of these people were actually murdered while they were in the commission of a crime. Okay? This man running from the police. Rayshard Brooks running from the police. Jacob Blake walking away from the police. Immediately following Kizzy's death, protesters gathered at the scene and hundreds marched to the police station in solidarity, chanting, "Say his name," and "No justice, no peace." According to the protesters, the police left Kizzy's body on the ground for hours afterwards, and those at the scene, including the LA chapter of Black Lives Matter, were tweeting about how he was still there after 11 p.m. that night, last night, over 8 hours after he was killed. So they left his body just laying there in the streets for all of these hours. They just left. They just walked away and left the scene. Just like when they murdered Breonna Taylor, they just left the scene. Those 3 officers left the scene. And for hours, they couldn't find Mattingly anywhere. I mean, not Mattingly, Hankinson. For hours, they couldn't find him anywhere. The police kill another black man, another black person. We're tired of the injustice. We're tired of the police brutality. We're tired of being looked upon as 4th-class citizens. We're tired of just not being treated equally. Raheem Taylor, a protester there, told CBS LA. Orlando Gibbons, a neighborhood resident who was interviewed at the scene, asked why the cops fired if Kizzy was not holding a weapon and simply running. If he reached down to grab it, that's different. But if it's on the ground, why shoot? That means he was unarmed, Gibbons said. According to the New York Times, the Sheriff's Department is investigating the shooting alongside the District Attorney's Office and the Internal Affairs Bureau. So again, we got the police trying to police the police. We got these city and county folk trying to police each other and investigate each other. And we know how that always turns out. It always turns out exactly the same way. This comes after over 3 months of Black Lives Matter protests against police violence that was prompted by George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Tony McDaniel. This is less than 2 weeks after police shot and paralyzed Jacob Blake at close range in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Despite cries for action, advocates continue to rally in defiance of racist police killings and vow to seek justice for Dijon Kizzy. And yeah, that's his picture that you see in the thumbnail and in this video. But that's the article from Refinery 29. Now let's go over here and let's read what the New York Times has to say. And the reason why I want to give it to you from both articles is I want to give it to you from an angle of somebody that's not in the mainstream media versus the mainstream media. And we know the New York Times is the mainstream media. So let's see how the New York Times spins this thing. LA Sheriff's deputies fatally shot black man after suspected bike violation. Now, you notice Refinery says alleged. The New York Times said suspected. Why? Because suspected sounds a whole lot like suspect. You done committed a crime. See, only suspects commit crimes. Or you're suspected of committing a crime. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the reason why they needed to use the word suspect. To already criminalize the dead person, the dead black man. They're already criminalizing him in the minds of the public by saying suspected. And then they didn't say he was killed, fatally shot. That lessens it a little bit. Than to say that he was killed. He was fatally shot. Okay? See, that's the reason why I wanted to read these 2 different articles to give you 2 different perspectives. And this and the New York Times got this from Reuters. September 1st, 2020. Los Angeles. A black man who was stopped on his bicycle for an alleged vehicle code violation was shot to death by 2 Los Angeles sheriff's deputies, who fired 15 to 20 rounds after the man punched one officer and dropped a pistol on the ground, authorities said on Tuesday. That's what the authorities allege. But you'll see how that don't sound right once we finish reading. A semi-automatic handgun apparently fell from a bundle of clothes that the man, identified as Dijon Kizzy, 29, had been clutching and dropped when he struck an officer in the face, said Lieutenant Brandon Dean, a Los Angeles County Sheriff's spokesman. So, of course, you know he's going to spin it in favor of the police. Dean said the two officers opened fire when Kizzy made a quote, this is quote in quotes, a motion that he's going to pick up the firearm. So he doesn't have it. It's not in his hand. He's dropped it. You understand what I'm saying? You have all of these witnesses, and there are other witnesses that are going to speak in this article talking about the man was running away. He was shot in the back, but he made a motion to pick it up. So if he turned towards the weapon and made a motion to pick it up, how did he get all these shots in the back? Anyway, let's keep going. Whether the firearm was actually in his hand, if he was motioning towards it, I don't have those specifics because we haven't interviewed the actual deputies who were there yet, Dean said. Okay, now I want y'all to think back to Kenneth Walker, and I want y'all to think back to how quick they arrested him and charged him with attempted murder and threw him in jail after Breonna was murdered. But it took them 2 weeks to actually interview the 3 officers, Mattingly, Hankinson, and the other one, I can't think of his name. It took 2 weeks for them to finally sit down and interview them. And then when they did, if you listen to the interview, the guy who was also a police officer doing the interview was kind of leading Madeline and guiding him and kind of answering certain questions for him. But it took 2 weeks, right? Okay, well, this man is saying, okay, I'm here giving you this information in a press conference. I'm telling you all about why this man was stopped for an alleged vehicle violation on his bicycle. I'm telling you allegedly how many times they fired the gun. I'm telling you all about he was running. I'm telling you all about he had a semi-automatic weapon and all of this on handgun on him and all of this. But I'm also telling you that the actual deputies that were there haven't been questioned yet. They haven't been questioned yet. Well, if they haven't been questioned, then how do you know all of this information? If you haven't talked to them, how do you know this information? How do you know that it was that they were trying to stop him because of on his bicycle because of an alleged vehicle code violation? How do you know that they fired 15 to 20 rounds? How do you know that he punched one of the officers and that a gun dropped on them? How do you know all of this if you haven't talked to them? If you haven't questioned them or interviewed them at all, then how do you have all of this information? Look to me like you got a whole lot of specifics. He said this, whether the firearm was actually in his hand, if he was motioning towards it, I don't have those specifics because we haven't interviewed the actual deputies who were there yet. But it looks to me like you got a whole lot of specifics. You can specifically say that there was a gun involved. You can specifically say he dropped the gun. You can specifically say he punched one of the officers. You can specifically say that he committed a vehicle code violation. So so the only specifics that you don't have are the specifics that will determine whether or not this man was unarmed and running with his back turned to the police when they gunned him down. Those are the only specifics that you don't seem to have. Specifics that would make the cops look bad. Now you got enough of specifics to try to make the black man look bad. Like he was doing something wrong, like he was in the commission of a crime, like he had a weapon. But you don't have enough specifics about this firearm and whether or not he actually had it in his hand or whether or not he was actually moving toward it when he was shot 15 to 20 times. Initial news of Monday afternoon's shooting drew scores of angry demonstrators to the scene of the Westmont community on the southern edge of Los Angeles, becoming the latest flashpoint in a summer of protests over African Americans killed at the hands of police. You don't kill any race but us, and it don't make any sense. Fletcher Flair, Kizzy's aunt, told reporters on Tuesday at the shooting scene, where activists called for an independent investigation by California's Attorney General. Well, hopefully that Attorney General will do more than Kamala Harris did when she was Attorney General, because several times she was asked to step in to cases concerning excessive force and police shooting and police killing and all of that. And each time she refused to do it. She said it wasn't her job, that she deferred to the county, district attorney, or whatever. So hopefully they have better luck with this state of this attorney general that California has now than they had with Kamala Harris. A protest march was being organized for Tuesday evening by local activists from the Coalition of Community Control Over the Police. Prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump, oh, here we go again. And you know, Ben Crump got Jacob Blake's mama out with all of this she done forgave, all of this forgiveness mess, and all of this mess standing up on national TV telling people that Jacob wouldn't want them to be rioting and that she's disappointed in them rioting. And she's trying to speak to the heart of people and all of that bullshit. When are black people going to realize that these are not the folks that you need to be dealing with at a time like this? Because they're like sharks in the water that smell blood. And wherever they smell blood, Crump and Lee Merritt, wherever they smell blood, that's where they're going. Why? Because they also smell a bag. And they just looking for these families that's got these coons in them, like George Floyd's family, with all of them coons up there at the Democratic Republic, talking about they saying at the Democratic Convention, talking about they saying a prayer and all of that. They look for these families with these coons in them. If they can find one or two good coons in a family, then they know that they can make a deal for the bag. And that's all they after. That's all these family members be after, that bag. Prominent civil rights attorney, I'm not going to say prominent anymore, and I'm not going to say civil rights attorney, because I ain't seen him do nothing with no civil rights. I ain't never known him to win a case or nothing else. Attorney Ben Crump, who was retained and he was not retained, he shows up for free. And he gets his cut when the family gets the settlement. Posted on Twitter, they say he ran, dropped clothes, and a handgun. He didn't pick it up, but cops shot him in the back 20 plus times, then left him for hours. A neighbor who said she watched the scuffle and the shooting that followed from her home directly across the street from the scene told Reuters on Tuesday that she never saw Kizzy throw a punch, never saw a gun, and that he wasn't a threat. Deja Rockmore, 31, said the two deputies kept firing at Kizzy even as he lay motionless, face down on the ground. I watched him go from living to dying to dead, Rockmore said in a telephone interview. Rockmore, who was home during the day overseeing her 6-year-old's online school lessons, said she was interviewed by investigators. Dean told Reuters that the deputies together fired a total of 15 to 20 gunshots. He said Kizzy sustained several wounds to his upper torso, but the number of bullets that struck him would not be known until an autopsy was performed. The two officers involved have been removed from patrol duty for the time being, he said. That's what Dean said. They have been removed from patrol duty for the time being, which means we just go, just for now, we're going to move them out of the way. But it's just for the time being, because we ain't worrying about this. We ain't worrying about nobody being arrested. We ain't worrying about nobody being charged. We ain't worrying about nobody being convicted. We may have to fire them. If push come to shove, we may have to fire them, but somebody else will hire them somewhere else along, somewhere down the road. So this is just for the time being. So he's letting you know just with that statement alone, for the time being, that they're not concerned about this, that they're not concerned about these officers being punished or being held accountable in any kind of way for the cold-blooded murder of this man. And all this shooting black men in the back, what's up with that? What's up with all this cowardly shooting folks in the back when they walking away, when they running away? What's up with that? Just a bunch of cowards, because only cowards do that. According to Dean, events leading to the shooting began when the deputy saw a man riding his bike in violation of the vehicle code and tried to stop him. Kizzy jumped off his bike and darted away on foot before the two officers caught up with him a short distance away where the deadly encounter occurred. So here again, we got another black man running. Not standing trying to confront the police, not standing trying to have an altercation with the police, not standing pulling a weapon on the police or threatening the police in any kind of way. This is a black man trying to avoid the confrontation, trying to avoid the scene with the police. In the version of events given by Rockmore, She said she witnessed Kizzy and one of the officers tussling over the clothes bundle before it fell to the ground. At that point, she recounted, Kizzy threw his hands in the air, yelling, "I don't have anything. What do you want?" before turning to run away. She said an officer then fired a taser into Kizzy's legs, and the two deputies gunned him down when he pivoted back towards them. Dean denied that officers ever deployed a taser, and he offered no explanation for the differing accounts. Dean said he did not know what vehicle code Kizzy was suspected of violating. So now you done talk to somebody enough to know that the man had a gun, to know that the man punched the officer and all of this, but you don't know what code he allegedly violated. He told reporters on Monday, "It is not uncommon for deputies to conduct vehicle stops of bicycles. They have to adhere to the same rules of the road as a vehicle does." Okay, but since you don't know what specific code he violated, then how do you know that he violated one at all? How do you know that he was breaking the rules of the road? So again, I just, excuse me, that's it from the Los Angeles Times. And as you read the article, they give you a lot more information, and it's not quite as damning toward the victim as the heading would make you think that it's going to be. But the heading alone is enough, because everybody is not going to read the whole article. Some people are just going to read maybe the heading of the article, the title of the article, and then maybe one or two sentences, and they're going to form their opinion from that. So just that headline enough. LA Sheriff's deputies fatally shoot black man after suspected bike violation. That's enough. Especially for anybody who's not going to take the time to read the entire article. But that's what has happened as far as Dijon Kizzy is concerned. So it's escalating. It's not much change going on, because for a minute there was all the protests and all the screams and the cries to defund the police and all that. For a minute there, it looked like they might get somewhere and sit down and chill out for a little while and stop targeting black folks so much or whatever. But no, they're making it clear that they're not going to stop. It's almost like these folks in law enforcement are programmed. It's almost like they're zombies or they're robots or something that have been programmed to target and kill black folks. Like somebody has put a battery in them and they become like deadly energized bunnies, and they just keep going and going and going no matter what's going on in the streets. No matter what's happening, they just keep on going. And I'll tell you why. It's simply because they're doing exactly what they were trained, and not only trained, what they were created to do. We're going to have this a brief conversation one more time. Today's law enforcement is the child of slave patrols. Started back again in South Carolina in 1704. The criminal justice system, law enforcement, none of that was ever created for white folks. All of that was created for black folks. It was never created for white folks. The whole criminal justice system was created so that they'd have a legal way to usher black folks back into slavery based on the 13th Amendment. But law enforcement, criminal justice, none of that was created. None of that system was set up for white folks. They didn't need to police white folks. They didn't need to lock white folks up and mass incarcerate white folks and usher white folks into slavery through the criminal justice system. All of that was set up for us. Remember, rich white folks, or white folks period, especially those who owned plantations and owned slaves and all of that, they created law enforcement so that law enforcement could do two things. One, protect their property, and two, protect them. Well, three things. And three, police the black population. Because at that time during slavery, The black slaves were actually the majority. You could have 200, 300, 400 slaves on a plantation and only have maybe 5, 6, 10 at the most white folks. So they needed a force that would protect them from black folks, black uprisings, black slave revolts and all of that. Protect their property, go get their property when them slaves ran away, to go get their property, their investment, and bring it back to them. And to control the black population, to keep the black population in fear, and to keep us in terror, and keep us terrorized so we wouldn't rise up. And they meant for them to do it by any means necessary. Rape, kill, lynching, dismemberment, terror, anything that you got to do to keep them under control, that's what you do. So law enforcement was created again by white supremacy for white supremacy. So they're not going to stop. As long as white supremacy is the system that's in control, law enforcement will keep doing exactly what they were created to do. And that is protect the property of white folks. That's the reason why you see Donald Trump and so many of them, all of these folks dying, black people losing their lives, and they running around talking about property, and you burning up buildings, and you destroying property, and all of that. Why? Because that's what white folks created law enforcement to do, to protect their property. That's why you got these white vigilante groups and these white nationalist groups and these white supremacist groups going out with guns talking about they protecting the businesses and all of that from the protesters. Because that's what they do. That's what they were created to do. Protect the property of the rich. And control the black population. And as long as white supremacy is in control, as long as that system is the system that's in control, law enforcement will keep doing exactly what they're doing. Because that's what they were created to do. That's what they are trained to do. And they keep talking about the military and law enforcement has been infiltrated by white supremacy. No, it hasn't. It was created by white supremacy. White supremacists have always been there. White supremacists and racists and these white supremacist terrorists have always been a part of law enforcement. They didn't have to infiltrate it. They created it. And these police officers are more and more, they're becoming even more emboldened. And the reason why they're becoming even more emboldened, like I said, for a minute there with all the riots and all the stuff that was going on across the nation and all the stuff that was going on across the world and all of that, for a minute there, you know, they had to take a step back and all of this, and you got police union folks coming out whining and crying, and you got police officers coming out whining and crying, talking about they not being respected and how they being treated and all of that. So for a minute there, it looked like they was going, you know, they might just realize they needed to chill a little bit. Not change, but just realize they needed to chill a little bit. But when you got Trump supporting them, you got Trump supporting suspected white supremacists like this little Kyle Rittenhouse boy who comes out and crosses state lines and all of this kind of stuff. 17-year-old illegally doesn't have illegally cannot possess a firearm. He crosses state lines and all this. Allegedly, he got his parents buying him gun, and allegedly his mama is the one that brought him from Antioch, Illinois to Kenosha, Wisconsin to be a part of all of that. You know, you got all these white nationalists and all these Republicans and all these white supremacists trying to turn him into a hero and all of that kind of stuff. And we got video after video of the police supporting them and the police telling this vigilante group and all that, we so glad y'all here. We appreciate y'all, and throwing them water. And he done shot 2 people and killed 2 people and wounded somebody else, and they just let him walk away and all of that. And you know, and they tout him as a hero and raising money for his defense and all of that. That emboldens the police. You understand what I'm saying? It sends a message to them as well as all the rest of the white supremacists. You know, it's open season. Y'all gonna be all right. We got your back. We got your back. We'll get the money up. We'll make sure that you have the best defense. We'll tout you and cheer you on as heroes. And ain't no point in everybody talking about, well, he killed white folks. Well, he killed white folks because them white folks was off code. White supremacists will kill white folks, black folks, pink folks, green folks, anybody that threatens white supremacy, that threatens their white privilege, that threatens their system. They don't care what color you are if you're threatening their system. And these white folks out here marching and talking about Black Lives Matter and protesting and all that right alongside black folks, as far as the white supremacists are concerned, they are cold. They are totally off code. And they can go just like everybody else. But not only do you have this, not only do you have the police officers knowing that they got all this support from the right wing of the white supremacy bird, you got the same thing coming from the left wing of the white supremacy bird, the Democrats. You got Joe Biden, and he gonna do more than talk. His support for police, he gonna do more than talk about it. He talking about if he become president, that he wants to give them $300 million more dollars in federal funds. So he wants to give them more money. So he ain't just talking, he's talking about putting his money where his mouth is. So I'm gonna give you $300 million more dollars so you can become even more militarized. You understand what I'm saying? And so you can become even more of a threat to black Americans and actually the entire American population. I'm serious. I'm dead ass about turning this country into a military state. That's Joe Biden. For all you Democrats that's talking about voting for him, all you black folks that's talking about voting for him, he wants to give the police, who are running around now just shooting black folks in the back, just willy-nilly. He wants to give them $300 million more dollars, while everybody else is crying, defund the police. And then on top of that, they got a boost because then he went and picked Kamala Harris, a top cop, who was all about supporting the police when she was a DA, when she was the state attorney general. She was all about supporting the police. She was endorsed by the police unions. Every opportunity she got to stand with the police or to cover up for the police, that's what she did. Any kind of legislation, any kind of law, any kind of bill or anything that came down the pipe that went against police, she wasn't for it. And she let it be known that she wasn't supporting it. So the police are all for her. Do you think the police union would have supported her the way they did when she was DA and state attorney general if they didn't know that she would be on their side for when certain shit came about? So the police feel like, well, if we go with the right or if we go with the left, we ain't got nothing to worry about. We straight. Either way, we're going to keep our immunity. You understand what I'm saying? And we're going to still be able to kill these niggas indiscriminately in the streets. And ain't going to have to worry about no punishment, no accountability, nobody doing nothing to us. And I want y'all to think about this. Because this is very important and I want y'all to think about this. I want y'all to give this some real serious thought. Richard Spencer, the top white supremacist in the country, You understand what I'm saying? And he makes no bones about it. He makes no bones about how he feel about black folks. He makes no bones about how he feel about black folks being in America. He makes no bones about white folks. He makes no bones about how he feels about race and all of that. Makes absolutely no bones about it. Well, Richard Spencer has in 2020 thrown his support and his endorsement behind Joe Biden. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? When the premier white supremacist of the last decade or more takes his support away from Trump and throws his line in over here with Biden and Harris. This is coming from Syracuse.com. Updated August 25th, 2020. Richard Spencer endorses Joe Biden. Campaign swiftly disavows white nationalists. White nationalist Richard Spencer says he's voting for Democratic president nominee Joe Biden in the 2020 election, 4 years after being a prominent supporter for President Donald Trump. Now, Joe Biden's campaign sent out this statement talking about when Joe Biden says we are in a battle for the soul of our nation against vile forces of hate who have come crawling out from under rocks. You are the epitome of what he means, wrote Andrew Bates, the rapid response director for the Biden campaign. Okay, that don't mean nothing. That don't mean a thing. Okay, Biden is trying to get the black vote, and he's trying very hard right now to pander to black men so that he can get the black male vote, because ain't nothing else working. You know, that whole sister girl thing with Kamala, they realize even if they get all the AKAs, that still ain't enough to put them in the White House. They still gonna need the black man's vote. So now Biden is trying to pander to black men. You understand what I'm saying? And they writing all kind of articles and all this kind of stuff, trying to shame black men, you know, and trying to make black men feel bad because they don't support Kamala and all of this. You know, still trying to act like it's because her husband is white and all of that. No, it ain't got nothing to do with that. The reason why black folks, especially black men, don't support Kamala Harris is because of her record as far as black folks are concerned, especially black men. Her record of incarceration, her record of trying to keep them in jail longer than they're supposed to be there so that they can work on fire brigades and save them rich white folks' houses up in them mountains in California. See, that's the reason why black men don't support Kamala Harris. Because Kamala Harris has never supported black men. She has never supported the black community at all. So Biden realized that whole sister girl thing wasn't going to work. So now he's trying to pander to black men and trying to get black men on board. So quite naturally, publicly, he's going to reject this endorsement from Richard Spencer. Because everybody knows who Richard Spencer is. Everybody knows what Richard Spencer believes. Everybody knows what Richard Spencer stands for, because he makes no bones about it. So, of course, Joe Biden trying to pander for the black vote because he knows he needs that black vote to get in that White House. Of course, he's going to send somebody out to say, oh, no. We don't want to have nothing to do with him. But if you remember, back in 2016, quite a few Klan members came out and talked about how the Klan as a whole was supporting Hillary Clinton. Not Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton. What does that tell you? And this is what Richard Spencer had to say. Newsweek reports Spencer said earlier this year that he regrets voting for Trump, criticizing the killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani for bringing the U.S. to the brink of war with Iran. The mega alt-right moment is over. I made mistakes. Trump is an obvious disaster, but mainly the paradigm contained flaws that we now are able to perceive, and it needs to end. Now he's talking about the relationship and the MAGA, Make America Great Again, Trump slogan, and alt-right moment is over. He's not talking about the alt-right is over. He's talking about that moment of allegiance between MAGA and the alt-right is over. He said, and the reason why it's over is because they realized that the paradigm was flawed, and that relationship needs to end. Spencer wrote on Twitter, so be patient. This is the most important part. Be patient. We'll have another day in the sun. Meaning the alt-right movement, his philosophy, his ideology, all of that will have another day in the sun. Y'all just sit back and be patient. He says we need to recover and return in a new form. So what he's saying is we're going over here with these Democrats who are just as racist, just another form of white supremacy. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to go over here with them, and we're going to recover, and we're going to take on a new form. We're going to take on a new shape while we're over here with these Democrats. Why? Because just maybe, Trump was just too out in the open. Maybe Trump was just too blunt. Maybe Trump was just drawing entirely too much attention to everything that they were doing because Trump doesn't hold his tongue. Trump doesn't bite his tongue. But they can go over there and they can hide with them Democrats. You understand what I'm saying? And if they stay hidden over there long enough, maybe, just maybe, folks will start to forget about the alt-right movement. And then they can start moving in silence and moving in secret and moving in the shadows like they were doing before Trump came along. Because see, all Trump did was expose everything that was already happening. All Trump did was expose all the shit and all the dirt and all the filth and everything that was already going on. That's all Trump is doing. So maybe they're tired of being exposed. They're tired of being seen, and they want to slither back into the dark, into the shadows, so they're going over here with the Democrats because they know that as white supremacists as the Democrats are, they always put on a good face. They put on this good front. You understand what I'm saying? They even send out black folks to put on that front for them. While they do all their white supremacist dealings in the dark, in the shadows. So for all you people talking about voting for Biden and Harris, understand, then you'll be aligning yourself with Richard Spencer. You'll be forming an allegiance with Richard Spencer. And whatever happens, you can't blame nobody but yourself. You can't blame nobody but yourself that you become complicit in your own destruction. And if you think Trump bad, Trump ain't got nothing on Richard Spencer. Watch Jason Black's interview with Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer don't care. Richard Spencer done made it clear. We're not moral. We're not into doing things right. All we want is victory. However we have to get it. All we want is victory. He makes no excuses for the barbarism, for the savagery, as long as they get the victory. And that is the man, and you see here, based on what he just said, he's not changing his ideology. He's not changing his mind. He's just saying, no, it's time for us to do something different. It's time for us to do something new. So y'all need to be patient because we need to recover and return in a new form. So he's making it clear, we ain't going nowhere. We're coming back. But are you going to be able to recognize us when we come back? Because see, we're going over here with these Democrats and we're going to try to disguise ourselves so that we won't be so obvious when we come back. But that's Richard Spencer. So not only would you be aligning yourself with Joe Biden, the 1994 crime bill, Bill Clinton, and all of that mandatory sentencing, not only will you be aligning yourself with the two godfathers of mass incarceration, you'll also be aligning yourself with Kamala Harris, a woman who made it her business to lock black folks up and support police officers no matter what. But you'll also be aligning yourself with the alt-right. You'll also be aligning yourself with the alt-right. And it's funny how Biden is trying to pander to black men, to get black men, to convince black men to vote and all of this kind of stuff. But Kamala Harris, I don't care whether it's black people as a whole or whether it's specifically black men. Anytime you ask Kamala Harris what she's going to do specifically for black, you can't never get a straight answer. And her true feelings, her true vitriol, and her true hostility and hatred towards black people comes out. She just did an interview with a black man, and he asked her specifically what was she going to do for black people. And just like she did in the interview with the griot, when she was asked that question about black people, when she was asked that question specifically about black men, she brought up all other men. Well, every man, all men need. So no matter what it is, if it's black, Kamala Harris ain't for it. And she's determined that she can't even lie enough, or she can't even sugarcoat it enough, or sweeten it up enough to get the votes that she needs. She just can't do it. That's just how much disdain she holds for black folks. But this is what's going on. And I wanted to let y'all know what was going on, because I think that you have a right to know what's going on, and you have a right to know what's going on intelligently, accurately, and to know that ain't nobody, I'll say it again, nobody's coming to rescue us. You understand what I'm saying? Nobody's black is coming to rescue us. Nobody white is coming to rescue us. You understand what I'm saying? No mystical, magical person is going to come and rescue us. Jesus ain't going to just all of a sudden appear and rescue us. We're going to have to fight our way out of this. We can't run away from it. We can't pack up from America and leave and go somewhere else. White supremacy is global. We're going to have to fight for it right here if we want it. If we want to replace this system of white supremacy with a system of justice, we're going to have to fight for it right here. And we're going to have to do it individually. Individuals coming together in their neighborhoods, in their communities, individuals coming together to protect each other, to look after each other. That's how we're going to have to do it. Because there is no one organization or no one person or no one group of people that's going to come in and rescue us. And we sit back and reap the benefits. No, we all gonna have to do our own work. We all gonna have to do some heavy lifting. And that's what scares a whole lot of people. That's the reason why they so easy and so quick to follow this one and to follow that one and to follow this organization and follow that group, because they think, okay, well here's our savior. Here's somebody that's going to come in and save us. Here's somebody that's going to come in and do the hard work, and we can reap the benefits. No. We're going to all have to do this. So on that note, I want to leave you with one more thing. I want to leave you with just one more thing. Now, many of you remember that the NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition, went to Louisville, Kentucky, on this Breonna Taylor thing in July, right? And Grandmaster Jay, standing on those steps of Metro Hall, made this speech, and he said that if Daniel Cameron, who is the state attorney general, didn't complete the investigation into Breonna Taylor's murder within 4 weeks, that the NFAC was coming back to Louisville and they were going to burn that bitch down. Now, those were his exact words. We're going to burn this bitch down, right? Okay, well, today is September the 9th. I mean, September the 2nd. So let's see if we can find out what happened to the NFAC going back to Louisville and doing anything. Let's more talk about burning something down, going back to Louisville doing anything. I got this out of WDRB.com. NFAC plans return to Louisville on same day as Kentucky Derby. And let me read a little bit of this to you. This came out August 17th. It was updated August the 27th. So that was just a few days ago, about a week ago. Louisville, Kentucky. A black militia group says it will return to Louisville next month during the 146th Kentucky Derby. The group known as the NFAC, which stands for Not Fucking Around Coalition, was in the city last month protesting injustice in the Breonna Taylor case and demanding the truth. Standing on the steps of Metro Hall, the NFAC leader, Grandmaster Jay, said if Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron didn't complete the investigation into Taylor's death in 4 weeks, the city would burn. Now let me see if this is him saying that. Because this is a video. Let's see if this is the video of him actually saying those words.
Plans to be back in Louisville for the Kentucky Derby. The group was in town last month protesting injustice in the Breonna Taylor case. Grandmaster Jay says the group is coming back on September 5th. Last month, NFAC says that if the truth didn't come out in 4 weeks, they would burn the city down. That deadline would be Saturday. But in a YouTube video posted yesterday, Grandmaster Jay said they would be protesting at the Derby, which is a moneymaker for Louisville.
All the money that you would lose by having the Kentucky Derby unfortunately interrupted because of the presence of the NFAC would probably scare away most of the patrons. That's not something anybody wants to see or anybody wants to get into.
In just the last few minutes, LMPD released a statement saying it continues to prepare for and engage the many groups that announced they intend to come to Louisville, to execute and works to keep any demonstration lawful and safe.
No, it doesn't have what he said back in July, but it has this new YouTube video that he has put up. Standing on the steps of Metro Hall, the NFA, the city would burn. I just read that. That was on July 25th, making the deadline for the group this Saturday, August the 22nd.
So, I want to get started, but I don't know what the start date is.
Now, Jay said the group will return to Louisville on September the 5th, the same day as the rescheduled Kentucky Derby. In a YouTube video posted Monday, Jay said he would be coming after the Derby, which is a moneymaker for the city. And you can actually hear what he says on this YouTube video in this article, or you can go to YouTube and see that yourself. Which has the eyes of the world on you. And I'm pretty sure since you don't seem to respond too well to the ballot box, you will respond to the cash box. Because all the money that you would lose by having the Kentucky Derby unfortunately interrupted because of the presence of the NFAC, which would probably scare away most of the patrons, that is not something anyone wants to see or anyone wants to get into. Now, this is what he says in the video. So, of course, the 4-week deadline has come and gone, and you know, Daniel Cameron wasn't thinking about that mess. He was up there in the with Trump them at the Republican National Convention doing his little speech. So now he has, Grandmaster Jay has broadcast to the world. Never mind you, now come on, has broadcast to the world, the Louisville police, the state police, the federal government. He has now broadcast to everybody that the NFAC intends to show up at the same time, September the 5th, as the Kentucky Derby. So see, this is the reason why folks don't trust him. The reason why people are calling him an agent, The reason why folks are telling folks that you don't need to be involved in that mess, because when you're really grassroots, when you're really about the movement, when you're really about getting justice, when you're really about making something happen, when you're really about making the right moves, you don't broadcast to everybody. You don't tell everybody when and where you're going to do everything. You don't put every move that you intend to make on social media and broadcast it to everybody. So now, of course, the Louisville, Kentucky Police Department, you know, Metro Police, the Louisville Metro Police Department, or whatever they call themselves, you know, now they can be on high alert. Now they can get, you know, some state police in there. You understand what I'm saying? And they can cut this whole thing down. They can cut the whole thing down. They can shut it down just like that. Why? Because they have been I mean, he said this on a video in August. So if the Saturday was the 22nd, then that Monday would have been what? Because he posted the video right before this came out. So Saturday was the 22nd. So the video he posted probably would have come out, I'm thinking August the 17th, August the 18th or something like that. The video would have come out. The video on YouTube of him letting everybody know that they plan to be in Louisville, that the NFAC plans to be in Louisville the same day, September the 5th, as the Kentucky Derby. So we're talking about what? 3 more days? So they give them all this time. They give them a couple of weeks to prepare. They give them a couple of weeks to get everything set up. They give them a couple of weeks to do whatever they need to do to make sure that the NFAC doesn't disrupt the Kentucky Derby. And that's who people want to follow. That's who people actually believe cares about what's going on with black people. But the NFAC has not shown up in Portland. The NFAC has not shown up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. The NFAC has not shown up anywhere where there's some actual action going on in the streets. But now they give everybody that matters, all the law enforcement, the federal government, the feds, the National Guard, the military, they give everybody that matters 2 weeks notice that we plan on showing up September the 5th. Okay? So again, if y'all sitting around waiting for whether it be the NFAC or whatever, Black Lives Matter organization or whatever organization it may be, NAACP, whoever, if y'all still sitting around waiting for some organization or for some group of people to come in and save us and rescue us and fix this whole thing and destroy the system of white supremacy so it can be replaced with a system of justice, if y'all still sitting around waiting for a group of people to come in and do that, then you're going to be sitting waiting. Because this is going to have to be taken individually. Each individual is going to have to take responsibility for themselves, their families, their homes, their neighborhoods, their communities. And then as we do that, we have to join forces one with the other. But I just wanted to let y'all know what was, what was being said as far as the NFAC is concerned, and I'll probably bring this up again because I've got another show that I want to, another broadcast that I want to do, where we talk a little bit more about what's going on with the Breonna Taylor case, and I'll probably bring this up again because this is something that you need to know about. And for all these people running around talking about for people that are calling out the NFAC and calling out Grandmaster Jay, and people that are saying that they think he's an agent or that he is an agent or whatever. And you got other folks on the internet talking about black folks trying to bring other black folks down, and a black man trying to bring another black man down, and all of this kind of stuff. Let me explain something to you. There has only been one truly successful slave uprising, and that was in Haiti, the Haitian Revolution. And way back before, even before Duty Bookman, even before Bookman and the prayer in the swamp and all of that, there was Mackendall. And Mackendall was a slave. Somehow or another, he had lost his arm. They didn't know whether they don't know whether he lost it in an accident or whether his arm was cut off by one of the slave masters or what. But he escaped, went up into the mountains in Haiti, and became a maroon. And he would come down and he would talk to the slaves and he would educate them about plants and herbs and all of this kind of stuff. So he came up with this plan that they would poison the slave masters, the plantation owners, right? But before they did that, he realized that before he could get to the actual enemy of the people, he would have to get rid of and have to deal with the coons and the collaborators, the black coons and the black collaborators, the black faces of white supremacy. And that's exactly what he did. He dealt with and poisoned the collaborators before they ever went in on the plantation owners. Now that's just history. That's just the way it went down. Now I'm not suggesting that we poison anybody, kill anybody, that we do anybody any kind of physical harm. But we do have to call out these coons, these bootlicks, these bad wenches, these bad bucks, these black collaborators, these black puppets of white supremacy, these tools of white supremacy. We have to call them out. We have to call them out, and we have to expose them. Why? Because had it not been for collaborators and coons and bootlicks and black folks that were willing to sell other black folks out for meritorious manumission, and had it not been for that, we probably would have been able to get rid of white supremacy a long time ago. A long time ago. But those coons, those bootlicks, those collaborators, they actually work as buffers to keep us from being able to get to the system of white supremacy and destroy it. So we have to expose them. For just about every slave uprising, every slave rebellion that was foiled, you understand what I'm saying? Or that never came to fruition, 9 times out of 10, the reason why was because another slave snitched on those who were planning to revolt. It was usually another slave who snitched. So we have to get rid of these collaborators. You call them agents, you can call them agent provocateurs, whatever you want to call them. They ain't no better than the folks back in slavery that would snitch on the other slaves when they were talking about rebellion, when they were talking about revolt. And they have to be dealt with. They have to be dealt with. And how do we deal with them now? We don't deal with them the way that Mackendall dealt with them. We deal with them now by calling them out, by exposing them. By exposing them to every other black person so that you'll know that's not somebody that you can trust. Because we can't have snitches in our midst if we're trying to destroy this evil beast white supremacy system. We just can't have it. So yes, they need to be exposed. It is our responsibility to expose them. It is our responsibility to make sure that the black community is safe from snitches. So instead of you getting mad and talking about people being haters, now yes, there are haters out there. There is jealousy in the black community. All of that was brought into us, a lot of it right here in the United States through slavery. and meritorious manumission. And certain slaves, if they were willing to sell out everybody else, and if they were willing to be bootlicks and collaborators and all of that, they got to eat, live in the big house. They got to eat good. You understand what I'm saying? They got to dress a certain kind of way or whatever. But I'm not talking about that. Yes, we need to get rid of that hate and that jealousy, that envy in the community. Yes, we need to get rid of that, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these collaborators and these bootlicks have to be called out and exposed. So instead of getting mad when somebody is calling them out and exposing them and bringing you receipts, bringing you proof, bringing you information that shows that something is not right about this person, that 1 and 1 ain't coming together and making 2. Don't get mad. Do your own research. Think for yourself. Take a moment. 1 or 2 incidents by themselves might not be important, but when you start getting a collection of incidents, we got to stop and think for ourselves. For far too long, black folks have allowed mainstream media, the dominant society, white politicians, black folks with black skin and white minds and white supremacist ideology. Because yes, you can be black and still be a white supremacist. For far too long, we have allowed these people to think for us. We have allowed these people to tell us what to think, to tell us who to like, to tell us who we need to vote for, to tell us who we need to support. It's time for us it's past time for us to think for ourselves. So I just wanted to bring y'all this little bit of information. I didn't mean to stay this long, but it was necessary because it's needed. So I wanted to bring you this, let you know what's going on, let you know that you got to be careful, to remind you, and those of you who didn't know, to let you know that yes, Richard Spencer has endorsed the Biden-Harris ticket. Even if Biden publicly is acting like he disavowed it, we know better. We know what all that public mess is for. We know all of that is because he's trying to pander to black folk and trying to get the black vote. But it says something about that ticket when Richard Spencer is willing to walk away from Donald Trump and join forces with the Democrats. As racist as we all say Donald Trump is, you understand what I'm saying? Like I said, all Donald Trump has done is expose all the filth. He has exposed all the stuff that they thought was hidden, all the stuff that they thought that they had pushed back into the shadows, and all of that. Donald Trump is just exposing it all. But it says something when in less than 4 years, this man, Richard Spencer, has gone from doing that Heil Hitler sign to Trump to now talking about Trump ain't it. And he going with the Democrats. But he's also letting you know in that tweet that nothing about him, nothing about his ideology, nothing about the way he feels has changed. They just need to recover and come out in a new form. Okay? Now we're going to keep a close eye on how this thing is going to go with Dijon Kinsey. We're going to keep a close eye on that. And of course, I'll bring you the information. I'll bring you the updates as it comes through. But y'all get this information. Get down in that description box and look up these articles. Read these full articles. Read other articles. Do your own research. Like I say, you don't have to take my word for anything. Do your own research. If I've been wrong about anything, please tell me in the comment section. Please like this video. Please share this video. As I say, please have these conversations outside of social media. Have these conversations with your friends, your family, your co-workers, the people that you hang out with. Share this information with them. If you have to go to these different sites and these different articles with them, to let them read it for themselves so that people can wake up and realize what's going on and realize just how dangerous it is for foundational black Americans to fool with Biden and Harris. And I'm not suggesting that anybody vote for Trump. I'm not telling anybody who to vote for. I'm not telling anybody any of that. Yes, I suggest that black people sit this out. I suggest that we sit this one out. I suggest that we remove ourselves from this whole system. Especially the so-called voting part of it. You understand? Especially until somebody is willing to offer us something tangible in exchange for our vote. Again, we got to stop making our money more important than our vote. You take your money to the store and you get an exchange. You should do the same thing with your vote. Get an exchange, something tangible. But I'm not telling anybody what to do. We just need to think for ourselves. We need to think for ourselves. We need to read for ourselves. We need to do a little research for ourselves. Don't take a whole lot. Because we're living in a day and age where most of this stuff is exposing itself. And most of these people are just not hiding it anymore. These white supremacists are just not hiding it anymore, whether they be on the right or the left. So now Richard Spencer is showing you that they're one and the same when he can jump back and forth from one to the other like it ain't nothing. Maybe, just maybe, it's because Trump didn't come out and just wage all-out war on black folks like the alt-right thought he was going to do. Maybe that's the issue. That Trump came out, yeah, he's racist, but Trump don't like nobody. Trump got an issue with everybody. He don't just have an issue with black folks. He got an issue with immigrants. He got an issue with illegal immigrants. He got an issue with everybody. So maybe that's the reason why Spencer hops off of that train and decided he gonna hop on this train over here. Because these folks over here, these Democrats, have a known record for working against black folks and undermining black folks. So maybe as we put out Biden's record and put out Kamala Harris's record and showed how they really feel about black Americans and foundational black Americans, maybe, just maybe, that's what attracted somebody like Richard Spencer. Because I'm telling you, it says something. When Donald Trump lost this man's support in less than 3 years, but something that Biden and Harris said attracted this man to the point where he's willing to come out and publicly say that that's the direction he's going in. And if that's the direction he's going in, then that's the direction he's taking his movement, the alt-right, in. So understand again, you vote for Harris and Biden, understand, you are aligning yourself with the alt-right. You are aligning yourself with Richard Spencer. Okay? Now, like I said, y'all need to have these conversations. Please subscribe to the channel. And please hit that bell notification so that you can be notified when we upload, because I will be coming back real soon with some more information. But yeah, you know, please have these conversations. Please think for yourself, and please urge other foundational black Americans to think for themselves, to read just a little bit. Like I said, you ain't got to do a month worth of research to see some of this stuff. Because like I said, these folks ain't doing a whole lot to try to hide it. Okay? But I'll be back soon to talk to y'all. So until then, y'all be good.